The Deep Space Monitoring Station Helios hung silently against the backdrop of Saturn's rings, its sensors continuously scanning the vast emptiness of space. Dr. Maya Chen sat at her workstation, sipping synthesized coffee while reviewing the night's data streams. After 15 years of searching for signs of advanced alien civilizations, she had learned to appreciate the quiet moments. The quiet didn't last. Her holoscreen erupted with alerts, measurements of something massive approaching the solar system at impossible speeds. Maya's coffee cup clattered to the floor as she began cross-referencing the readings. Station I, verify these readings. What am I looking at? The AI's calm voice filled her small observation room. Confirmed. Multiple objects approaching at FTL velocities. Configuration matches no known natural phenomena. Maya's fingers flew across the holographic interface. Alert station command and initiate first contact protocols. Within minutes, the station's corridors hummed with activity. Scientists and military personnel rushed to their stations as the unknown objects decelerated at the edge of the solar system. Dr. James Foster, the station's director, burst into Maya's lab, his dark face lined with concern. "Talk to me, Dr. Chen. What are we dealing with?" Maya projected her findings onto the main view screen. 23 objects, each roughly the size of Manhattan. They're arranging themselves in a perfect sphere around our solar system. "A containment formation," Captain Sarah Rodriguez said from the doorway, her Space Force uniform pristine despite the early hour. "They're boxing us in." Before anyone could respond, every screen in the station flickered. A face appeared, distinctly alien with iridescent scales and multiple eyes arranged in a circular pattern. When it spoke, its words were automatically translated. "People of Earth, I am High Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Preservation Force. We have detected the imminent failure of the reality suppression field surrounding your world. For the safety of all civilizations, we must ensure the field's integrity is maintained." Maya exchanged confused looks with her colleagues. Reality suppression field. "There's nothing like that around Earth." The alien commander continued. "Your species has been contained for 50,000 years, your true nature hidden even from yourselves. We regret this deception, but it was necessary." James stepped forward. "What exactly are you containing?" "Your power," Zixtal replied. "Humans are not what you believe yourselves to be. Your ancestors were reality shapers, beings who could manipulate the fundamental forces of existence. They were called the World Breakers, and their powers nearly destroyed the universe itself." The station fell silent as the implications sank in. Maya pulled up Earth's background radiation readings, noticing for the first time subtle patterns she'd always attributed to normal planetary variation. But with this new context, "The field is failing," she whispered, watching energy fluctuations that had been gradually increasing over decades. "That's why they're here." Captain Rodriguez squared her shoulders. "If this field has been containing us, why is it failing now?" "Evolution." Another alien voice joined the conversation. This one belonged to a being that seemed to be made of crystalline structures. "Your species has been unconsciously adapting, growing stronger. The field cannot hold much longer." As if to prove the point, Maya's instruments detected a massive energy spike from Earth. On screens showing the planet's surface, strange phenomena began to appear. In Death Valley, gravity reversed in a 10-mile radius. Over Tokyo, time began moving backwards for 3 seconds. In the Amazon, a forest aged 1,000 years in minutes. "The containment is breaking down," Zixtal announced. "We must act now to prevent." The commander's words cut off as every human in the station suddenly doubled over, hit by a wave of sensation unlike anything they'd ever experienced. Maya felt her consciousness expand, touching minds across impossible distances. James gasped as his hand passed straight through a solid wall. Captain Rodriguez found herself floating 6 inches off the ground. Through the station's windows, they watched as Earth began to glow with an inner light, pulsing like a heartbeat. The reality suppression field was failing, and humanity was awakening to its true nature. "Wait," Maya called to the alien commanders, her voice steady despite the power now thrumming through her veins. "Before you try to contain us again, at least tell us why. Why were we sealed away? What did our ancestors do?" A new alien appeared on screen, this one ancient-looking with skin like bark. It was not what they did, but what they could do. "Your species' power knew no limits. You could reshape planets, reverse time, create and destroy matter at will. Some of your kind used these abilities wisely, but others nearly broke reality itself." Zixtal finished. "The universe nearly ended 3 times due to careless world breakers. Your own ancestors agreed to the containment, hoping their descendants would evolve to handle the power more responsibly." Maya looked at her hands, watching as reality rippled around her fingers. She could feel the truth of their words in her very atoms. Humanity had been sealed away not out of fear or hatred, but out of necessity, and perhaps hope. James stepped forward, his voice firm. "Then help us. Instead of trying to contain us again, help us understand these powers. Guide us." The aliens fell silent, their many eyes and sensing organs focused on the humans. Finally, the crystalline being spoke. "The containment field will fully collapse within 72 hours. If humanity is truly ready to handle its power, prove it now. Show us you can control these abilities as they emerge." Around Earth, millions were awakening to impossible powers. The next 3 days would determine whether humanity would be sealed away again, or finally take its place among the stars as the reality shapers they were always meant to be. Maya turned to her colleagues, determination in her eyes. "Then we better get to work. We have a lot to learn, and not much time to learn it." As if in response, the station's metal walls rippled like water, and somewhere in Moscow, a child's laughter turned sadness into literal butterflies. The age of the world breakers was beginning again, for better or worse, and the galaxy held its breath. 48 hours after the reality suppression field began failing, London's Natural History Museum floated 300 feet above its foundation. In Sydney, a teenager's nightmare manifested as physical shadows that had to be contained by hastily established reality stabilization teams. The awakening of humanity's powers was chaotic, beautiful, and terrifying. Dr. Maya Chen stood in the Helios station's new reality monitoring center, hastily constructed using their emerging abilities to bend space and matter. Holographic displays showed thousands of power manifestation events occurring every hour. "Status report," Captain Rodriguez called out, now walking on the ceiling because she found it helped her think better. The past 2 days had changed everyone's perspective, quite literally. "We've cataloged 17 major categories of reality manipulation abilities," Maya reported, pulling up a global map filled with glowing dots. "Some humans are showing control over fundamental forces, gravity, time, space. Others can manipulate matter at the quantum level or affect consciousness itself." James Foster phased through the wall. He'd stopped using doors entirely since discovering his ability to move through solid matter. "The alien coalition is getting nervous. There have been 3 more reality fractures in the past hour." Maya nodded grimly. A reality fracture occurred when someone's newly awakened powers spiraled out of control, causing localized breakdowns in the laws of physics. The largest one had turned a small town in Nebraska into a place where probability itself had broken, resulting in impossible events occurring simultaneously. "Show me the latest data from the education initiatives," Maya requested. The station AI compiled reports from around the world, where those who had gained better control of their abilities were helping others manage theirs. A new alert flashed across the screens. In Egypt, a young archaeologist had accidentally tapped into the time stream, causing ancient pyramids to rebuild themselves. In Brazil, a farmer's emotional connection to his crops had resulted in plants that grew in impossible patterns, creating floating gardens that defied gravity. "The alien coalition gave us 72 hours to prove we can handle these powers," Rodriguez reminded them. We're 2/3 through that window, and reality fractures are increasing, not decreasing. Maya was about to respond when every screen in the center suddenly went dark. When they reactivated, they showed a single image. A young woman standing in what appeared to be Times Square, but something was wrong with the scene. The buildings were twisted into Mobius strips, and the sky had been transformed into a cascade of mathematical equations made visible. "This is different," Maya whispered, analyzing the readings. "This isn't chaos. This is controlled. She's rewriting local reality with purpose." The woman in Times Square raised her hands, and the twisted architecture began to smooth itself out. The mathematical sky condensed into a new form of matter that shouldn't have been possible. She was fixing a reality fracture, but doing it by rewriting the underlying rules of existence. "Get me a connection to her," Maya ordered. Seconds later, the woman's voice filled the center. "My name is Dr. Sarah Patel," she said calmly, even as she continued to reshape reality around her. "I figured out what we're doing wrong. We're trying to control these powers using our old understanding of physics and reality. But that's like trying to read a book by eating it." Maya leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "These abilities, they're not just about manipulating reality. They're about understanding it on a fundamental level. The aliens call us world breakers, but that's not quite right. We're reality interpreters. We can read the code of existence itself." As if to demonstrate, Sarah touched a nearby reality fracture. The air split open, revealing the underlying structure of space-time. "See, reality isn't breaking. It's trying to teach us how to read it." James and Rodriguez exchanged looks. "Can you teach others to do this?" Sarah smiled. "Already am. There's a network of us forming, people who've realized these powers aren't about force, they're about understanding. We're calling ourselves the reality readers." Maya quickly cross-referenced global data. There were others like Sarah, individuals who had moved past the chaotic first stage of their awakening and were beginning to show real control. They weren't just using their powers, they were communicating with reality itself. "The alien coalition needs to see this," Rodriguez said. "This isn't just about controlling power, it's about understanding it." But before they could contact the aliens, every reality reader on Earth suddenly stiffened. Sarah's voice came through filled with awe and fear. "Something's happening. The deeper we read into reality, the more we're finding patterns, messages." "Messages?" Maya asked. "From who?" "From our ancestors," Sarah replied. "They didn't just seal our powers away. They encoded instructions into the fabric of reality itself. And now that we're learning to read it properly." She paused, her eyes wide. "We need to gather every reality reader we can find. There's something our ancestors want us to know, something about why they really seal our powers away. And I don't think we have much time left to learn it." Around the world, reality continued to shift and change as humanity struggled with its awakening powers. But now there was a new element, a race to decode the messages left behind by their ancestors before the alien coalition's deadline expired. Maya looked at the countdown timer. 24 hours remaining. In less than a day, the aliens would either accept humanity's awakening or attempt to seal them away again. And somewhere, encoded in reality itself, lay the key to understanding why their ancestors had chosen containment in the first place. The question wasn't just whether humanity could control these powers, it was whether they could understand them in time. With 18 hours remaining until the alien coalition's deadline, reality readers across Earth began discovering something unprecedented. The messages encoded in reality weren't just instructions, they were coordinates, pointing to locations where space and time intersected in impossible ways. Dr. Maya Chen stood with Sarah Patel in the ruins of an ancient temple deep in the Himalayan mountains, except the ruins weren't exactly ruins anymore. As their awakened senses perceived them, the stones shifted and changed, revealing their true nature as crystalline data storage devices. "How many sites like this have been found?" Maya asked, watching as Sarah traced glowing symbols that appeared in the air. 17 so far, Sarah replied, her eyes gleaming with otherworldly knowledge. They're not just in temples, they're in ocean trenches, inside mountains, even buried in the Antarctic ice. Our ancestors hid their archives in places that would survive any catastrophe. James Foster materialized beside them, having phased through several miles of solid rock to reach their location. The coalition ships are getting agitated. They've detected these sites activating, and they're demanding explanations. Let them wait, Sarah said, her fingers dancing through the holographic symbols. This is too important to rush. These archives, they're not just data. They're memories, living memories. As if triggered by her words, the crystalline structures pulsed with light. The air around them shimmered, and suddenly they weren't standing in ruins anymore. They were witnessing history. The memory showed a vast chamber filled with beings of pure energy and light, their ancestors in their true form. These weren't humans as they knew them, but creatures of pure consciousness who could reshape reality with a thought. They were in the middle of what appeared to be a crucial debate. We cannot continue this way, one being said, its voice echoing across time. Our power grows too great, our understanding too vast. We are becoming disconnected from the very reality we were meant to shepherd. Another being moved forward, its light dimmer, but somehow more focused. The younger races fear us, and rightly so. We have become too removed from the experience of limited existence. We no longer understand the value of constraints. Maya watched in awe as the scene played out. These weren't the actions of beings sealing away their power out of fear or necessity. This was a deliberate choice to evolve differently. Look, Sarah pointed to symbols appearing in the air around them. They're showing us their plan. The reality suppression field wasn't meant to contain us. It was meant to guide us. James stepped forward, his scientific mind racing to understand. You mean they chose to become human, to live as limited beings? More than that, Maya realized, reading the symbols. They chose to evolve from the ground up, to learn what it meant to be part of reality rather than simply controlling it. The field wasn't suppressing our power, it was incubating it. The memory shifted, showing the beings of light gradually taking physical form, choosing to be born as humans, to live and die, and be reborn, each generation carrying the potential to awaken when the time was right. Sarah's eyes widened as she decoded more of the archive. They left markers in our DNA, triggers that would activate only when we had evolved the wisdom to handle the power. The field wasn't failing. It's operating exactly as designed. We're not breaking free. We're graduating. But before they could process this revelation, a new alert blared from their communication devices. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through, tense with urgency. We've got a problem. The coalition ships, they're charging weapons. Something spooked them. Maya quickly accessed the global network of reality readers. Similar archives were being activated worldwide, each revealing more of their ancestors' plan. But as humanity began to understand its true nature, the alien coalition was reacting with fear. They don't understand, Sarah said, her voice heavy with realization. They see our powers awakening and think we're breaking free of containment. They don't realize this was the plan all along. Then we need to show them, Maya decided. If we can access these memories, maybe we can share them. Make them understand that this isn't an escape or an awakening. It's an evolution our ancestors planned for. James nodded. But we have to move fast. We've got less than 12 hours until their deadline, and if they're already charging weapons. There's more, Sarah interrupted, her hands moving through new symbols. These archives, they're not just memories. They're tools. Our ancestors left us everything we need to complete our evolution, but we have to prove we're ready to use it properly. The crystalline structures pulsed again, revealing more symbols, more memories, more knowledge. Around the world, other reality readers were making similar discoveries. The race was on, not just to understand their past, but to prove to the alien coalition that humanity's evolution was not a threat, but a fulfillment of an ancient and carefully crafted plan. Maya looked at the countdown timer on her device. 11 hours and counting. Then we better make every minute count. Our ancestors spent 50,000 years preparing us for this moment. We're not going to let them down now. Above them, coalition ships moved into attack positions, their weapons primed. But in the archives below, humanity's true heritage was finally being revealed. The question was, could they understand it in time to prevent a war that neither side truly needed to fight? 6 hours remained on the coalition's deadline when the first shots were fired. A nervous alien captain, detecting a massive surge of reality-warping energy from Sydney, launched a preemptive strike. The quantum-tipped warhead never reached Earth's atmosphere. Instead, it encountered something unexpected, a shield of pure understanding. Sarah Paddle stood atop the Sydney Opera House, her consciousness expanded to perceive the underlying structure of reality itself. Around her, a dozen other reality readers had formed a network of awareness that caught the incoming weapon and gently transformed it into harmless light. "We need more time," she communicated to Maya Chen, who was coordinating global efforts from the Helia station. "The archives are revealing something huge, but we're only scratching the surface." Maya watched as more coalition ships moved into attack position. On her screens, she could see reality readers around the world accessing more archive sites, each revelation building towards something momentous. But the alien fleet wasn't waiting. "High Commander Zixtal," Maya broadcast on all frequencies, "please, what you're seeing isn't an escape attempt. It's the completion of a plan 50,000 years in the making." The alien commander's response was immediate. "We have watched civilizations with far less power than yours tear reality apart. We cannot take the risk." "Then let us show you." The voice came from James Foster, who had been deep in the Antarctic archive. He emerged through a portal, bringing with him a crystalline matrix humming with ancient power. "Our ancestors left us the tools to prove our readiness." The matrix activated, projecting a vast hologram visible to both the coalition fleet and everyone on Earth. It showed the true nature of reality, not as a fixed set of laws, but as a living, breathing system that needed caretakers, not controllers. "This is what our ancestors understood," Sarah explained. Her voice carried on waves of pure thought. "Power isn't about breaking or making worlds. It's about being part of reality's own evolution." But even as she spoke, crisis points were erupting worldwide. The accelerated awakening of human consciousness was creating ripples in space-time. In Moscow, a child's nightmare threatened to tear open a hole in reality. In Buenos Aires, a man's grief was literally turning time backwards. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos. "Multiple coalition ships launching weapons. They're not aimed at population centers. They're targeting the archive sites." Maya made a split-second decision. "All reality readers, initiate protocol unity," just like we practiced. Around the world, hundreds of awakened humans linked their consciousness together. They weren't fighting the coalition's attacks. They were incorporating them into reality's flow, turning destruction into transformation. "Wait," Zixtal's voice held surprise. "This is impossible. You're not resisting our weapons. You're accepting them." "Because that's what our ancestors learned," Maya explained. "True power isn't about control. It's about harmony. They didn't seal away our abilities because they were dangerous. They sealed them until we could understand this truth." The hologram shifted, showing the moment when their ancestors made their choice. But now, with their awakened senses, they could see what really happened. The ancient beings hadn't locked away their power. They had invested it in reality itself, becoming part of the universal consciousness they'd once tried to control. Sarah's voice resonated with understanding. "We were never meant to be world breakers. We were meant to be world listeners, reality partners." The field wasn't suppressing us. It was teaching us. In orbit, the coalition weapons fell silent. The alien ship's sensors were detecting something unprecedented. The humans weren't just deflecting attacks or manipulating reality. They were working with it, like musicians joining a cosmic orchestra. But time was running out. The reality suppression field's final dissolution was approaching, and with it would come the moment of true testing. Humanity had to prove not just that they could handle their power, but that they had learned the lesson their ancestors spent 50 millennia teaching them. 3 hours remaining, the AI announced. Maya looked at the global network of reality readers, each one now understanding their true purpose. Then let's show them what we've learned, all of us together. Around the world, humans began to glow with inner light as they accessed the full knowledge of the archives. The coalition fleet watched in amazement as reality itself seemed to sing with the harmony of a species remembering its true nature. The breaking point had arrived, but it wasn't reality that was breaking. It was humanity's old understanding of power itself. The question was, would the coalition recognize this transformation in time, or would fear drive them to actions that could never be undone? Above Earth, the alien ships held their position, weapons armed but silent. Below, humanity prepared to demonstrate 50,000 years of carefully guided evolution. The next 3 hours would determine not just their fate, but perhaps the future of reality itself. In the final hour before the reality suppression field's dissolution, Earth glowed like a newborn star. Not with raw power, but with understanding. Millions of awakened humans had joined their consciousness in a vast network of awareness, each one adding their unique perspective to humanity's greatest revelation. Maya Chen stood in the heart of the Helios Station's control center, her consciousness simultaneously aware of both her physical form and the vast web of reality surrounding it. Through the station's windows, she could see the coalition fleet still hovering in attack position, their weapons charged but holding. "It's time," Sarah Patel's voice echoed through the consciousness network. She had discovered the final key in the Antarctic archives, not a weapon or a power source, but a truth so fundamental it had taken 50,000 years for humanity to be ready to understand it. High Commander Zixtal, Maya broadcast, her words carried on waves of pure thought. "Before you make your final decision, let us show you what our ancestors really created." The alien commander's response came slowly, weighted with the responsibility of protecting the galaxy. "Show us, then. Show us why we should trust the descendants of the world-breakers." Maya nodded to Sarah, and around the world, reality readers began to activate the ancient archives in perfect synchronization. The crystalline matrices hummed with power, but instead of projecting images or memories, they began to reveal the true nature of reality itself. The universe wasn't just a collection of physical laws and matter. It was alive, conscious, evolving. And humanity's ancestors hadn't been tyrants or destroyers. They had been reality's first partners, chosen by the universe itself to help guide its evolution. Our ancestors didn't seal away our powers because they were dangerous. Maya explained, as the truth became clear to everyone, human and alien alike. They sealed them away because we needed to evolve naturally, to understand reality from the inside out, to become part of it rather than trying to control it. Through the consciousness network, every human shared their unique perspective of this truth. A farmer in Kenya showed how she could feel the pulse of life in every seed. A physicist in Geneva demonstrated how quantum particles dance to the music of consciousness. A child in Vancouver revealed how dreams could bridge the gap between possibility and reality. The coalition ship sensors registered something unprecedented. The humans weren't just manipulating reality anymore. They were harmonizing with it, each individual adding their own note to a universal symphony that had always been playing, waiting for someone to learn how to listen. "Look," Sarah directed as the final archive activated. "This is what they were preparing us for." The hologram showed not the past, but the future, infinite possibilities branching out like a cosmic tree. In each branch, humanity served not as conquerors or controllers, but as guardians, teachers, healers of reality itself. They were the universe's caretakers, evolved through 50,000 years of careful guidance to become something entirely new. High Commander Zixtal's crystalline form shimmered with emotion. This is not what we expected. You are not becoming the world breakers again. You are becoming something else entirely. We're becoming what reality needs us to be, Maya answered. Not rulers or breakers or even makers. We're becoming partners in reality's own evolution, and we're inviting you to join us. The reality suppression field began its final dissolution, but instead of chaos or destruction, something beautiful happened. As the field faded, it revealed its true nature, not a prison, but a chrysalis. Humanity emerged not with overwhelming power, but with profound understanding. Around the world, humans demonstrated their new awareness. Reality fractures weren't being forced close. They were being heard, understood, and gently guided back into harmony. The nightmare-spawned horrors in Moscow transformed into bridges between imagination and reality. The grief-twisted time in Buenos Aires became a healing current that helped others process their own losses. One by one, the coalition ships powered down their weapons. Their sensors confirmed what they could hardly believe. Humanity had evolved beyond the need for control. They had learned to listen to reality itself, to work with it rather than trying to break or remake it. The field is gone, Sarah announced, as the last traces of the ancient construct faded away. But we're not alone. We never were. Maya smiled as she felt the truth of those words. The universe itself was conscious, alive, evolving, and humanity had finally grown up enough to be true partners in that evolution. Their ancestors hadn't sealed away their power. They had given them the greatest gift possible, the chance to learn how to use it wisely. High Commander Zixtal's final transmission carried across all frequencies. The containment deadline is canceled. We recognize humanity not as a threat to be contained, but as guardians to be welcomed. The galaxy remembers the world breakers. But now we will know their descendants as the reality singers, those who learned to harmonize with existence itself. As the coalition ships transformed from a battle fleet to an honor guard, Maya looked out at her transformed world. Humanity had awakened not to power, but to responsibility. Not to control, but to partnership. They had become not the breakers or makers of worlds, but something far more important, the guardians of reality's own dreams. The next chapter of human history was beginning, and this time they would write it not with force or fear, but with understanding, wisdom, and harmony with the greatest consciousness of all reality itself.